Thank you for joining me today. And today we are going to be talking about relationship goals. Because who doesn't like to talk about relationships? Maybe you're like, Chris, listen, I really don't care about relationships. Like, I don't want to be in one. I like being by myself. I like the thought of being with somebody, just not for me. Maybe you're like, I'm going to do me. Or maybe you're like, listen, Chris, I hate to be a bummer, but listen, dude, I I really don't want to be in a relationship right now. Like, I just got over one. It was bad. It ended poorly. Like, that person was just like awful, and I really just don't care to be in a relationship. And it just wasn't pretty. Everything came out broken. We entered it. It just wasn't good. And now I don't really want to be with anybody else. Or maybe you're on the opposite scope of things and you're like, listen, everything's going wonderful, dude. Everything's awesome, man. We're like in this relationship, like she's the one or he's the one, and everything's just like perfect, like hunky dory, like fine. Um, yeah, I've been in all three of those situations. So I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I get your thought process through all of that. See, I've been okay being by myself. Like, I don't need nobody. I'm fine. I don't want to think about relationships. I'm just going to coast. I'm going to do me. I'm going to play my video games. I'm going to stay in my lane. I ain't going to do nothing. I ain't going to go touch grass in somebody else's field. I'm just going to stay and do my own thing. And then I've been on the other side where it's like, man, I just don't like relationships at all. I've been broken. I've been beaten. Like, I liked this girl, and then all of a sudden she breaks my heart. I don't want to put myself in that same situation all over again. And then on the other side, I've been so in love. I like walk up to my dad, like as a teenager. I'm like, yo, she's the one, dude. And my dad's like, she's which one? Is she the 1-1 or the 1-2 or the 1-3 or the 1-4 or the 1-5? And you get the point. I always thought each relationship was going to be different. And then when I didn't want to be in a relationship, I thought that I was fine. But as we talk about relationship goals, there's really two principles to relationships that we must take into consideration. Are we going to have a bad relationship, which is out of selfishness, or a good, healthy relationship, which is out of selflessness? Let's jump over to Proverbs 7, just really quick. Proverbs 7, verse 6 and 7. We're going to start there today. At the window of my house, I looked down through the lattice. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who had no sense. And I know by now you're like, stop, bro. Like, stop. Chris, we don't want to hear this. This is a message about youths having no sense. Like we're stupid or something, or like we're not wise. We haven't matured. We're not ready for relationships. And I actually don't think that at all. I think that there are a lot of young people that can be wise, that choose to make the right decisions, that passionately seek and pursue Christ to the point that they are wise beyond their years. I just happen not to be one of those. I happen to fall in this verse 7, a youth who had no sense. So before you think I'm attacking you, before you think that I'm getting under your skin, before you think that I'm just telling you just to forget relationships altogether, that's not at all what I am trying to say. But I am offering you a fair warning. Because what does a selfish relationship look like? Let's talk about that for a second. Like, maybe you are in a relationship, or maybe you've been in a relationship. Maybe you've heard this expression before, and this could come from either side, boy or girl. If you love me, you may want to take this a step further. Instead of second or third base, maybe we can go for the home run. Or, hey, listen, Sex ain't a big deal. It's nothing like people make a big deal out of it. Ain't no big deal. It's fine. It's perfect. Like, listen, it's just two people that like each other that want to enjoy each other. Well, I'm sure by now you've had the health class for 5 minutes that talked about sex ed and all the other STDs and unintended pregnancies that come along with that. And now you're like, nah, listen, I'm going to be safe. I ain't worried about that. So you know that could be a consequence of things. I don't need to bury up a hatchet and talk about anything new here. And my prayer is that none of those things happen to you. But if they have, listen, your life isn't over and God still loves you and there's still time to have healthy relationships. But in those relationships, those bad relationships, we see a common denominator, and that common denominator is selfishness. You know, it's really about, like you hear it said sometimes, like we fell in love. Like, I love this person. We fell in love. Like, everything's perfect. Like, it's like the movie love that you hear about on Hallmark movies, right? You know, boy decides, oh, well, maybe it's just too late for me. Like, girl flies away back to her home state, and now boy's like, what am I going to do? And she's at the airport ready to go home, and now he's like, wait, light bulb click, I got to run to the airport, get there as fast as I can. I'm at the airport, and now I got to get on one knee, and I got to propose, and now, listen, everything's going to be perfect, like happy ever after ending, like every Disney fairy tale movie, right? And now Disney sells you the opposite. Like, you can be fine in a relationship by yourself alone. Anybody seen Frozen? Like, they make Anna look like the hopeless romantic that just goes through bad relationships, and Elsa's the strong one because she's independent and she don't need no man. Let's refocus really quick on the man who we see in verses 6 and 7, the unwise man. If we could go down to verse 21 real quick. With persuasive words, she led him astray. And so now we see this picture, and if we skipped a little bit down, so I'll explain it. This prostitute is a wife, and she has a husband. She sees this man walking in a bad circumstance, all alone in the dark. So it's becoming nighttime. And so he's not prepared to be in this situation. He hasn't given himself any preparation. And now he's in a bad situation. He's in a situation, a circumstance that he shouldn't be in. He shouldn't be out here at night, away from his home, in the midst of this part of town, in this corner where this prostitute is. Because now she can use him and he can fall into that temptation. So she seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter. Ooh, like a deer stepping into a noose. Ugh. Till an arrow pierces his liver. Oh, like a bird darting into a snare. Oh, little knowing it will cost him his life. Now, we don't know what happens here. We don't know if this selfish relationship ended up in his death. Perhaps his wife found out. Maybe he was married and his wife found out, and it destroyed their marriage. Maybe word spread and he was cast out of his community. Maybe he was stoned. Maybe he literally did go to an ox, like he did go like an ox being led to the slaughter. It's pretty graphic there. We can see that. So it comes with real consequences. Selfish relationships lead to guilt, shame, and a lifetime of consequences. I can think back to the bad relationships in my life. They still rain memories in my mind, still rain memories in my heart. It's not like I've gotten that back. I mean, I've recovered, I've healed by the grace of the Holy Spirit and in my relationship with Jesus, bringing it back all into restoration, but still those scars still remain in my flesh. So relationships, they do lead to guilt, shame, and consequences. It affects our future. It affects our present. You know, during those times, I'm sure this man in this story, if he was married, he brought back the consequences and the guilt and the shame in his marriage and in his relationship to the point of where he was like, listen, I'm carrying this big burden in my life. I should have never done this. And I satisfied my flesh. above my relationship for my spouse. And the same thing on the opposite side in the woman's case, the one that enticed the man, the prostitute, living with a lifetime of consequences, being known as a prostitute, also satisfying immediate needs and sacrificing future relationships. So maybe you've been one of these people. Maybe you've dated two people at the same time and you've led them on and you don't know which one to choose, and you kind of go to this one and that one and you just string them on in until you can make a decision, and you leave one person damaged and one person feeling less important, or maybe they feel like a victor in the moment, but then they can't trust you later on. What about the couple that just says sexually things feel good, so let's just do it. It'll be fun. It'll be new and exciting. It's really not that big of a deal. That's selfishness. Or worse, what about the couple that tries to convince others to get sexually involved because you would do it if you love me? So it's pressure to do something you're not comfortable with. They always end up in bad situations. I'm telling you, they always end up in bad situations. We have regrets in our relationships, and they affect our future relationships. The unhealthy relationships prevent us from having healthy relationships. And it honestly kills the chance at real love. But I have a good resolution to this selfish relationship. And even if you've been broken, even if you've had all the bad things and the bad circumstances, the bad past, the guilt, the shame, everything else, the consequences that go all along with those bad relationships, there's still a way out. And I want to paint a picture or a model of what a good relationship looks like. I've heard of it once. It's like a triangle. There's, on the bottom two parts of the triangle, you have the man and the woman in the relationship. And at the top of the triangle, you have Jesus. As these two individuals, the man and the woman, pursue Jesus going forward, upward together, they meet in the middle at Christ. So Christ being the center of their relationship, their pursuit of Christ is what unites them and brings them together and ultimately creates a healthy relationship. But godly, healthy relationships are built on selflessness and can lead to joy and fulfillment. So we see this contrast of guilt, shame, and consequences. And in healthy relationships, we see the contrast of joy and fulfillment. And so I want us to flip over to Romans 12, verse 10, just really quick. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another. Wait a second. Honor one another below yourselves. Does that mean you just trample all over them and treat them less important than you are? No. Honor one another at the same level of yourselves. So just, like you share everything, like you're both the same, right? We both mean the same to each other. No. Honor one another above yourselves. In that picture of me splitting a meal with my friend, let's just use this as a illustration. Like my friend I bring him out to eat. And this is a friendship, okay? Not a relationship, like a romantic relationship. So my friend and I go to McDonald's. He forgets his wallet, of course, because he's forgetful. I have my wallet, but I have $10 in my wallet. And the quarter pounder meal at McDonald's costs like around $10. So I'm going to get the quarter pounder, a fry, and a drink. And my friend turns to me after I order and is like, listen, bro, I forgot my wallet. I'm like, oh, man, I only had $10 and I literally just ordered this combo, which will only feed me. So one person combo. But then I think, you know what? I care about my friend. I'm just going to give him the whole combo. And then my friend goes, you know what? Actually, no, you take it. And then there's compromise in that and say, listen, we both are hungry. I have $10. I can get us some food. Let's just split it in half and share it together. Like at the one point, I wanted to give him my whole combo. He just said, you know what? Forget it. You take it. And then we compromised and we came together to a solution of caring about each other more. And so we split that combo. It's the same concept as in our relationships. Like we look at the interests of our spouse above our own. And so we say, hey, listen, my wife wants to watch TV and I want to play a video game. Or maybe you have a boyfriend or girlfriend. She wants to watch a Netflix series. You want to watch a video game. Maybe you watch a few episodes and you play a video game, but it's compromise together because that other person's interest becomes elevated above your own. And when you're both on that same page, everything works together flawlessly. But unfortunately, we're human and it doesn't always work that way. But we can still strive and do our very best and pour into those relationships to make them the best that they can be. So it's completely different pictures of selfishness, and we see the destruction that it brings, and selflessness, and we see the joy and the gratitude that can bring. So honoring each other, taking delight in honoring each other, it just means that you do find joy in fulfilling your partner's needs. Selfish relationships can lead to regrets, negative consequences, and pain. Selfless relationships lead to joy and fulfillment. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to go back to those ways and those relationships in your life and focus on yourself and how those relationships make you feel? Because I promise you, it will bring guilt, shame, and many consequences into those future relationships. Or we can focus right now and prepare and get ready beforehand of knowing what a good, healthy relationship looks like. Before we jump into a romantic relationship, we must understand the concept of a healthy relationship in the current ones that we have with our parents, with our friends, with our teachers, with our pastors, with everybody around us. We have to elevate the needs of others ahead of our own so that when we do get into a relationship of a romantic capacity, we understand how to live a successful relationship out. So we have to think about this when we're single. How does it look? How does it look like to show your friend you care more about them than you care about yourself? And how does it look self-sacrificially? Self-sacrificially. Sorry, hard word. And then think about the future when a relationship is just starting. Of course, I'm not saying plan out your wedding and, know what the colors are and how many bridesmaids or bridegrooms there's going to be and what music's going to be played in the venue. No, I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying think about the future when you're just starting a relationship. So that text that you send to somebody that you're interested in, is it the right text to get that relationship started off? What about when you ignore a text from somebody that you may be starting a relationship and you ignore them and be like, I don't want to talk to them right now, or then maybe you lead them on with it. Think about the future when you just don't know what you want. How are you preparing your mind, your heart, and your ability to be effective for that other person in the relationship to the point that you're respecting them? So not ghosting somebody, being upfront with them. Listen, if the relationship ends before it starts, just be clear on that. And your response, if that ever happens to you, is one of mutual respect. It really depicts how your future relationships will be. Think about the future when you're officially together. So when things are going steady, are you putting Jesus at the center of that relationship? Do you both choose to love Jesus before anything else? Because this will unify you in unconditional love, sacrificial love, and unselfish love, making him at the center of it. And think about the future if the relationship ends. This may be the hardest thing that you have to do and the hardest ask I have for you. When that relationship does end, things start to look bad. The situation gets worse. You still have to pass each other in the hallways. You still have to notice each other's existence. We can't just ignore. We can't participate in this ghosting and cancel culture that we're in. Sure, there's something to be said if you're in a new relationship to respect the boundaries of that relationship and care about the person that you're with and not put yourself to vulnerability of circumstances that we saw in Proverbs 7. But still, at the end of the day, to treat people with respect, integrity, to honor those relationships that you have as the interest more important than your own. putting Christ first at the center of everything, even in a breakup. It can be one of the hardest things, but it's how we're supposed to love people. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a great day. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Click the like button, go ahead and hit subscribe, and smash that bell so you don't miss out on any other future videos. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day.